Hey guys, welcome back. And if you're new here, my name is Melody. So today I wanted to try to do kind of like an icy, cold girl inspired look. So today I'm going to use a palette I have by Beauty Bay. It's called the Metamorphic palette. And I think it's going to be perfect for this because it has a bunch of like really icy, cool tones going on. So as always, I'm going to go ahead and prep my skin and my eyelids, and then I'll be right back. Okay. Skin is prepped, eyelids are prepped, and I'm going to go ahead and start. So I'm going to start out with this kind of taupey color that's on the bottom row here. I'm a little bit nervous for this look because sometimes I find taupe colors can make me look kind of washed out or drained, where for a majority of the people, taupes look really, I don't know, elegant, sophisticated. But I'm going to take this color and I'm just going to pop it into the crease. Can you tell already? It's pulling very gray on my skin. But you know what? For the cold look, it should work in our favor. It's interesting how looks can be very deceiving when it comes to shadows, because in the palette itself, it can look one way, but then when you apply it to your skin, it looks completely different. Of course, color theory plays a big role in this, but I find sometimes, depending on the background or just like the packaging that a palette or a company uses for their palettes, they look very different on the skin. And I find with Huda Beauty palettes, for example, they always pull very pinky purpley on the skin, even if they don't look like that in the palette. I feel like this color is good for providing like the contour of the eye, so like a contour shape. This is gonna work in our favor for this icy look. I was watching this girl on TikTok and she does the most avant-garde looks, and her placement for the eyeshadow is not the traditional one, and it's something that only she can pull off, and I don't even know how she does it. She'll put like a gray like underneath the eye, and it looks, I don't know how to describe it, but you'd think she looks like a corpse and she actually looks like runway ready. Okay, it looks like I just applied gray all over. Sorry, we'll work with it. I'm actually gonna go into my bronzer just to warm this up a tiny bit and to provide a little bit more depth and warmth a little bit. Okay, I'm actually gonna go into the darkest shadow here, which looking on camera I think is gonna be this one, and I'm gonna apply the smallest amount just to this inner corner, just to give it a little bit more depth, because I feel like if I don't do that, it's gonna look kind of flat. Because of my eye shape, it's very flattering for me to have a bit of darkness in the outer corner, just a little bit. So I'm kind of giving it the shape that I want my eye to have with this shadow. And I'm pulling it out a tiny bit there. I'm not going to dip back in, but I am going to use whatever's left on my brush to kind of apply in the inner corner here of the mobile lid. Again, just to give it a little bit of shape, so it gives the illusion of the shape of the lid that I want to mimic having, which I don't have. I went to a Sephora recently and I was able to finger swatch the Huda palette, which is supposed to be the last one ever. The big palette, it's like an 18 shade palette. And I think there's a sparkly shade, like a glitter shade, that's supposed to be eco-friendly or something. I wasn't very impressed. I don't know how to describe it. It felt very much like a loose pigment, and I felt like, I mean, maybe I've been spoiled by indie brands now, but compared to the glitters that you can find in indie palettes, they were so lackluster. It felt kind of like an arts and crafts type of glitter, and it would 1000% require some sort of glitter glue or something for you to set down so it would actually stick to the lid. It didn't swatch nicely at all. And honestly, I think for the price range, there's so many better that you can get out there. Even just using like the Fenty Balm, the big one that comes, this one, how many carats? Mine's a little bit dirty from being used so much, but even this has way better payoff and sparkle than that shade in the Huda palette. And I felt like a lot of the shades were also kind of repetitive. It just didn't feel like a big 18 shadow palette, which is unfortunate, because I would think if it's the last palette she's ever doing that's a big, you know, whatever 18 shadow palette, go out with a bang. But in that case, I don't regret not getting it at all, because I don't feel I'm missing out for sure. I don't know if the camera picks that up, but this one's really icy. This one would complement the look, and it has tiny gold sparkles. And this one is an iridescent purple to blue. You know what, let's do a combination of all of them. I'm gonna start with this one that's called Fidgetal. And I'm gonna apply that on the center of the lid, but more so, not quite the center. I'm gonna apply this on the sides, leaving a gap right in the center. So this is gonna blend into that darker color that we put on. Well, I guess I didn't put it on you, the darker color that I put on. I'm gonna do the same here. And drag it up just a tiny bit. I want it to have a pretty wet look, so I'm going to build up the dimension with that sparkle, and that's why I'm going to use multiple different sparkles. I'm going to move on to this shade here called Prism. I'm going to put that one in the center of both sides and pat it out towards the other color that I had applied, as well as upwards just a tiny bit. And lastly, I'm going to grab the first one here called Future. This one looks like that Fenty How Many Carats gloss bomb. It's just like a very white silvery sparkle, and I'm going to pat that in the center, dead center. And I'm just going to move to the sides. I can never get used to having long nails. I feel like I have to trim these already because they're so long. Love how they look, but I just can't function. I get very useless with them, and I've noticed I've been dropping everything. I think that's why. Okay, and I like to blend the shimmers upwards so that you can actually see it, because I have pretty hooded lids. When I open my eyes relaxed, most of my lid is gone, so you see this much when really I applied it in like double the space. I also find that dragging it up, the glitter upwards, creates a little bit of like an ethereal, mystical vibe, if that makes sense. Alright, I'm going to leave the eyes like this, and I'm going to move on to the rest of the face, and then I'll come back to the eyes to finish it up. I always like to sandwich it like that. I'm going to go on to foundation now, and I'm going to mix 2 shades of the Estee Lauder Double Wear Foundation. I'm between shades right now, so instead of buying a new one, I'm just mixing my own shades here. And as always, I'm just going to coat the back of my brush and swipe it onto the areas that I feel need the most coverage, and I'm starting towards the center and then dragging it outwards, because the perimeter of my face doesn't need as much coverage as the center does. It's going to help hide that redness or discoloration and just even everything out. I like to do a thin, even layer all throughout, and then I'll go back with a little bit extra on any spots I think need more coverage. Alright, so foundation is pretty much done. I've been experimenting a little bit with applying double blush, so liquid and then powder. I'm going to do that again today, and I'm going to do it differently than I did the other day. So the other day I put the powder over top of after the concealer, and I'm going to do it the opposite today. Alright, so I'm going to go in with the liquid blush now. This is still weird, so I'm experimenting a little bit until I figure out what order I like to do things in. But I'm going to go in with the Rare Beauty shade Faith. It looks very intimidating in the bottle, but it actually looks very beautiful on the skin. I'm going to apply some to the back of my hand, and I'm going to coat my blush brush pretty evenly, and then I'm going to go into my cheeks to spread that out. And as you can see, I probably could have spread it out even better in my brush, but it's okay because this is going to be underneath the concealer, so we can fix everything. And honestly, you need the smallest amount of this blush because it's very pigmented. But I highly recommend blending it out on the back of your hand first, just to make sure you get even application and you're not struggling and blending it out later. I feel like I put a lot on the one side, so I'm going to do the same on the other side. The purpose of doing the blush in layers is so that it'll last longer, because typically when you put on your makeup, your blush is the first thing to go. I don't know why, but it's always one of the first things to wear out quickly. So doing this way ensures that when that first layer of blush wears off, you're still going to have the one underneath everything, so it should last longer. I'm going to go in with some of the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer in the shade Light Beige as my overall concealer. And a tip if you do want your concealer to provide a little bit more coverage is to give it some time to dry a little bit first. When I'm applying this concealer, I also kind of like to map out the shape that I'm doing for my eyeshadow. So in this case, because I put my eyeshadow on first, it does allow me to clean up if there's any fallout, and in this case I'm going to give my eye the shape I want it to have. And because we put the blush underneath the concealer as well, that's supposed to allow you to blend it out so it looks more seamless your blush with your everything else. Alright, and now I'm going to go and apply that highlighting concealer. And I like to do a little bit on the inner corner, on my forehead, the chin, and whatever's extra then I'll apply to other areas like the bridge of the nose. So I do have to wash my brushes, but you might be able to notice that there is some streaking, and that's okay because I'm going to go back with my brush that I applied the foundation with and pat that out to blend it in all together. Alrighty, you can see that when I'm blending out the concealer, that tones down the blush a lot. So even if you did go a little bit crazy with that application like I did, this is your chance to like tone it down to a reasonable amount. Alright, now I'm going to go in with some loose powder and just gently set the area underneath my eyes. I want to make sure that I pat out any creasing that might have happened. And I'm going to lay down a very thin layer of powder before I bake. So I will be baking today as well under the eyes. I'm going to do that on both sides here. I also like to drag this because of this powder. This is the Bye Bye Pores by IT Cosmetics. I find it really helps to kind of hide the visible pore areas. So I always bring it down to this area here, which is where I feel I have the most visible pores. But we're going to apply a powder to the rest of the face as well. So now that I've laid down a thin layer of powder under my eyes, I'm going to go ahead and take my baking powder. I'm going to use a dry sponge and I'm going to press this into the areas that I'm going to be baking in. Okay, now I'm going to go and apply the rest of the powder to my face. So I'm just taking like a kabuki brush and I'm taking my Sephora Micro Smooth Multitasking Baked Face Powder, that's a long name, in the shade 25 Beige. I mentioned this the other day, but this, I don't know how to describe it. I think if you've used the Hourglass ambient lighting powders, you might know what I mean. When you use those powders, they just set everything down in this beautiful, not completely like stark dry matte way, but it really smooths things out in my opinion. And sometimes it's the small things that make a big difference. So if you try it out, if you stop using it, I think that's when you notice what it's actually doing. And I'm just putting this everywhere that I didn't bake. So literally the rest of the face except for the under eyes. I'm just brushing my brows up so that I can see the kind of like the bulb spots or the patch, I can't talk, the patchy parts of my brows that I want to fill in. I know people have different preferences of doing their brows first or last, but I personally like to do it last just so I can actually blend out my foundation properly around my brows and they don't look like they're just kind of stickers placed over top of everything. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but sometimes once you do your foundation after you've done your brows, you're kind of scared to touch the brow area because it's, you know, it looks perfect. So this way I find I'm able to put them where I want and it looks a little bit more seamless with the foundation. So I'm just using a brow pomade. Yesterday I did my brows with a thinner brush, but today I'm going to use my normal, which is actually a little bit thick. But I'm going to use a light hand and apply it specifically to those patchy areas. On the arch here, I like to use a very light hand and kind of follow the arch shape. It doesn't have to be perfectly filled in. That gives it more of a soft look and slightly more natural as well. I'm also going to fill in some of the areas with the brow powder that complements the pomade shade I'm using, and I'm going to do the same on the other side. Alright, so I've done the bulk of the filling in. Now I'm going to go in with that powder. Applying powder over top of your pomade also helps to get rid of any shininess that might be left over from when you fill in your brows with pomade. Sometimes that can make them look very fake. Not fake, what's the word? Filling them in with, or going over top of that pomade with powder helps to make it look softer and gets rid of any shine you might have from the pomade. I know some people like to bake in that area as well to do the same. Up to you how you want to do it. This is just how I've always preferred to do mine. And with the lighter shade of the two, I don't know if you guys can see that, but I'm going into the front of the brow here. Alright, I went ahead and finished the brows. I applied some gel too. And now I'm going to wipe away the baking that I did. So I'm just going to take this like, it's kind of like a paw-shaped brush. I'm going to brush away the baking that I had in place. And this baking also helps to brighten as well as to set the under eye to make sure you don't get creasing throughout the day. You can always bake different areas of the face too. It doesn't just have to be under the eye. I think that's the most popular area, but you can literally bake the lids, the smile lines, any areas that tend to crease. And prepping the skin is really important for when you're gonna bake. It does tend to dry things out because you have the powder there just sitting and soaking everything up. So it's very important that you prep the skin properly if you have dry skin. All right, I'm gonna go in and finish the eyes. So I'm just gonna go in with a pencil brush and I'm going to apply some of that shade that we used, the bronzer shade, just on the lower lash line. And this is gonna help soften off the look. It also helps kind of hide any creasing that you might have under the eye. I'm gonna do the same on both sides, and I'm also gonna use the colors that we used on the lid itself. So I'm applying some of this, that first gray shade that we used. Just kidding. I feel like I just gaslit myself. This is the first shade that we use. I'm applying kind of like a grayish bluish shade that's in this palette. Oh, right. I think this is the one that I used to darken up the outer corner and give the eye that shape that I wanted it to have. I'm just focusing this on the outer corner and bringing it inwards on the lower lash line. I don't remember if we used that color, but I guess we're using it now. I'm going to take a matte white color as well, and I'm going to apply that to the inner corner and the tear duct area to brighten it up a bit. You could leave it matte, or you can apply shimmer to it. I'll see how it looks matte, and then I'll decide if I'm actually going to apply shimmer or not. Okay, so that's without shimmer. I love me some shimmer, so I'm actually going to go ahead and put some on. I'm going to take a little silicone applicator, and I'm going to apply this white silvery shimmer. It has no base color, it's translucent, so oh wow, it sticks really well onto that white that we put on. I don't know if you guys can kind of see it there. I'm just going to take some more and do the same to the other side. I'm going to bring it underneath as well a little bit. And I'm actually going to take that, like the purple to, I don't know if you guys can catch that, but there is quite a shift in these colors. But I'm going to take the blue to purple one, and I'm going to put some on the center of the lower lash line here. That's how that looks. I think I'm going to take a silver and apply it to the lash line itself as well. I really want to make this look as frosty as possible, so I hope that silver in the lash line made a difference there. Not the lash line, sorry, the waterline. If we wanted to go for a slightly more smoky look, you could have done like a darker color on the lash line. Okay, is this Screaming Ice Princess yet? Maybe not. We'll get there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put the bronzer now. So it's that same shade that we were using before. And I'm just going to do it on like parallel to my cheekbone. So the highest point is right here, so I'm going to do it right next to it. Not quite in my hollow, which is down here. This would be where we would be putting contour, but I'm not going to use contour today. Or ever. So just right above that. Your bronzer placement can also help give you more of a lifted look, and it can complement your face shape as well. So just keep in mind that if you have a face shape similar to mine, if you place it where I have, that might be one of the more flattering areas for your face shape, but you put it where you want and where you feel looks the best. I find that sometimes we're so busy trying to keep up with trends that we forget to do what actually flatters our shape the best. I'm actually going to do a little bit of application on my nose and my lips as well. So I'm going to take the smallest amount possible and just trace the sides, the narrowest part of my nose, and connect that upwards towards my brows. And it has to be the smallest amount, because if you overdo it, then you start to look a little bit crazy. And I'm going to do the same, grab a little bit. I'm going to close my lips, and I'm just going to focus it kind of like in a circle in the Cupid's bow and just underneath. Tiny bit again, because you could look crazy a little bit. Can you already see? Okay, this looks a little bit crazy, I know, but also can you see how that creates kind of a shadow so it makes your lips look more pouty? once you line, it's gonna make more sense. I'm gonna go in with the blush now, and I'm just gonna go in with my Blend Bunny Cosmetics palette. This is the Bare Cheeks, and I did this yesterday and it looked really pretty, so I'm gonna go in with this purple shade. It's called Stripped, and I'm grabbing the smallest amount because it is very pigmented, and I'm just gonna apply it in the same places, but I'm gonna start at the back because it is a pretty dark color. You're going to concentrate most of the darkness in the back, so it's going to complement any type of bronzing or contouring you've done, and you're going to gently bring that towards the front, because if I go straight in with the powder to the cheek, it's going to look like a terrible mess, and it's going to be way harder to clean up and blend out. Can you tell the difference? I've applied it here and I haven't done it here yet. I'm going to repeat the same on the other side, starting in the back of the cheekbone and gently working your way forward. I feel like because of the sparkle, it makes my eyes look as if they're watering a bit, but it actually looks pretty cute. Okay, I'm actually going to put in highlighter today. I didn't do this the other day and I kind of missed it. I don't know where we're at with highlighter. Is it in or is it out? I can't keep up anymore. Okay, but since we are looking to go for a more frosty look, I'm going to go into this quad and I'm going to choose the lightest, this white silvery color, but I'm going to apply a very small amount just to the highest part of my cheekbone right here. And I'm patting it in as well as swiping. I don't want to go too heavy with this silver highlighter because we want it to complement and not to take over. So here's the side with, I don't know if you guys can see, and this is the side without. I do feel like my skin had a little bit of glow to it beforehand, but I'm just doing the same here. If you do want your highlighter to look more wet, set your face first and then apply a highlighter. So when I say set, I mean use the setting spray, and then you can go in with the highlighter if you want it to be like absolutely beaming. Otherwise, if you want it to be a little bit softer, put it before your spray all over the face. And I'm going to take a very tiny fan brush, and I'm going to apply the same silver highlighter to the narrow part here, the bridge of the nose. And whatever's left over, we'll do the tip, Cupid's bow, and maybe through the brow bone as well. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I do feel it made a little bit of a difference. Bridge of the nose, tip of the nose, Cupid's bow. And I'm just going to fan that through the brow bone and into the brows. I feel like I should be going to Narnia with this look. It's so icy, I love it. All right. I'm going to go ahead and spray my face to set it down, and then I'm going to continue. So I went ahead and sprayed on some all-nighter setting spray. I was very generous with it and I look very glowy, but I think it still needs a little bit of time to dry down. I've been wanting to try some fixing sprays, which are different from setting sprays. From the research I've done, I've found that setting sprays are always going to have that heavy liquid consistency, and it's going to help everything kind of melt into each other. It does help set the makeup as well so that it won't budge, but fixing sprays, which are, think more of like the one size mattifying setting spray, that kind of locks it into place and mattifies for the most part. There are some hydrating ones as well, but I'm going to try to get my hands on some fixing sprays and do side to side comparison, so hopefully I can get that up for you guys. But I've been using the all-nighter for years and it's never let me down. It really helps set the makeup, and kind of like the MAC Fix Plus, it helps to melt everything to make it look like one, if that makes sense. I'm gonna apply some liner. I'm gonna do a pencil. This is just a gray color. I'm gonna apply the gray pencil first just to give myself an outline, and then I'm going to go over that with powder. Alright, so I lined the top lash line, kind of like tight lining just the lash line on the top lid there. I'm going to set that with a powder as well so it doesn't move. Okay, I'm going to try to use this this liner pencil. I'm going to dip into, let's do this one. Hopefully this works well. Okay, so I went over that gray liner in that, in that purple color here, just to smoke it out a little bit to set the gray and to better define the liner itself. All right, now I'm going to curl the lashes, apply mascara, and we'll see if we need falsies today. I don't think I'm going to do falsies today. I'll finish my lips and then I'll see how I'm feeling about the rest of the look. So I'm going to line my lips with a mauve? I never knew how to say it, but it's the Revlon Color Stay Long Wear Lip in the shade Mauve. I'm going to be using like a silvery gloss, and it's always hard to talk while I'm doing this. Okay, so I just outlined the shape of my lip in the center. I overlined to give a more pouty look. And I'm going to do the same on top, so just follow the line on the sides. And I'm going to use the Maybelline Lifter Gloss in the shade 001 Pearl, just to go along with that icy theme. Fake lashes or no fake lashes? You know what, let's do fake lashes. Okay, I decided to apply lashes, and I'm happy that I did. I can't get over it. These are the Ardell Naked Lashes in the number 424. They just have this beautiful double layer, so they look so absolutely fluffy and natural when you look at them. And if you apply them properly, you can't really tell that you're wearing fake lashes. So this is the final look. I had a lot of fun, and I really like how this turned out. It's super kind of like an ice queen looking, very icy look, which I think is going to be fabulous for the winter if you guys have to go do anything outside, or even just, you know, to hang out inside, decorate your Christmas tree, whatever you guys are doing. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I always appreciate any thumbs up that you give me or any recommendations for future videos you want to see me do as well. Feel free to check out other videos I have on my page. I am slowly starting my channel here, so there's not a lot, but there is other stuff that you can see as well. I also have other socials, so I have TikTok and Instagram, so make sure to check those out. And thanks for watching again, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.